Before we get to the next part, friendly reminder to subscribe, like, share and comment. Helps a lot. Thank you! The next chapter gives us the impression our protagonist has about his co-worker, Oh Kyun. He is older, taller, and more often than not, he's late for his work shift. He also barely does any actual work. Most of the day he just sits around the cafe doing nothing. But not on this specific day. Today he is very active in cleaning the whole cafe and being extra about it, asking both Suhwa and Johan to take a break and relax. This unprecedented behavior makes our protagonist anxious, even though having all the chores taken off his hands doesn't actually bother him. As he is offered a drink by Johan, our guy's main focus shifts to Johan's lower body part, the special one, you know. His kinky thoughts are disrupted by the appearance of a kind-looking young delivery guy. He brings in the boxes containing Johan's supply order for the cafe. Suhwa is amazed by the newcomer. He knows some sign language and has also a very cheery personality. He's diligent and kinda cute. Seeing his kindness in offering help with the boxes, Suhwa concludes the delivery guy is like an angel. What is shocking is Gyun's behavior towards the said guy. Gyun is extremely nice and happy when it comes to the visitor, but as soon as he and our protagonist are in the storage area alone, his menacing usual demeanor is back. A short while after they dealt with the supply boxes, we can see Gyun and the delivery guy enjoying a drink together, seated in the cafe whilst Suhwa and Johan are at the counter. Our protagonist inquires about the delivery guy and Gyun's attitude towards him. Johan gives a short explanation. The new guy is Che Jihye, a person that Gyun likes. Suhwa can't help but notice the meaning in Korean of his name that signifies to possess or win a person's heart. After a little struggle understanding the advanced sign Johan used, Suhwa realizes that Jihye is an underclassman at Gyun's university. For a moment during the conversation, Suhwa was scared that Johan would use his voice, but the latter reassures our protagonist he wouldn't make the situation hard for him on purpose, leaving our guy almost disappointed by such statement. Shortly after Jihye leaves the cafe, Gyun decides to live with him, taking the day off before the cafe even opened to the customers. A bit surprised by this morning's development, our protagonist goes out to put the open sign up at the entrance when he receives a text message from Johan inviting him to his place again on his day off, for the purpose of teaching him sign language. Of course. This causes our protagonist to wonder if only he has difficulty when alone with Johan. So that evening he does some internet research about how to exchange the favor of giving pleasurable moments to Johan in return. Well, at least he understands the concept of give and take. He ain't selfish. After a bit pondering, he decides the best way would be to find some amazing skill to blow Johan's mind. He opts for learning a massage, but not just any basic one, but one targeted towards one precise body part, the prostate. Yep, you heard me right. So his research proceeds on that path. For a second, he thought it would be better to study sign language than think about such kinky endeavors, but he decided to ignore that thought. The morning after, we see Suhwa waking up at the sound of the phone alarm setting off, signaling he'd be late for work. He had a weird dream about him and Johan trying this new massage technique, but the roles were not as Suhwa intended them. He was not on the giving end. He gets going in a rush to the cafe, quite frustrated for being late because of that weird dream. As he enters the cafe, he is shocked to find a rude customer shouting angrily at Johan because of the awful taste of the coffee. Suhwa intervenes, bowing in apology, but not for the coffee, but just for being late, making it known to the rude customer about the big sign informing everyone that their coffee is bad. Suhwa also explains to the rude customer about Johan's hearing impairment and the use of sign language on Johan's part when communicating. The customer's response is full of discriminatory remarks, which triggers Suhwa into dropping formalities when addressing the old guy and accusing him of having no shame walking around drunk making demands this early in the day. The rude one resorts to a violent response, grabbing our protagonist by the shirt, causing Johan to intervene with a shout, "Please stop!" Everyone in the cafe freezes, including Johan himself and all the other customers seated at the tables. Murmurs from the mesmerized customers can be heard. Even the rude one appreciates Johan's great voice, but only for a moment before going back to his rude and discriminatory remarks. At that moment, Yoon, whom just entered in the cafe, puts his hand on the guide's shoulder, addressing him as Mr. Kim. He invites him to leave, then whispers something in his ear, after which, with a cunning smile, tells him to walk out without making a fuss if he doesn't want his secret to be divulged. Moments later, we see Gyun and Suhwa in the staff room, changing in the work attire to begin their shift, both late today. Gyun today showed up in the same clothes as yesterday and with smelly alcohol breath, but doesn't want to tell our protagonist why, deeming him a little kid not worthy of knowing the adult things. Suhwa as well doesn't want to give details about why himself too was late and in a messy state, only stating he was studying till late last night. Yun thinks he was studying sign language, even though we all know the finger movements he was learning were not for sign language usage. Gyun also is not willing to reveal the old guy's secret, but he does state that he had no manners every time he came to the cafe in the past. So he did some research on him just in case, expecting him to cause trouble one day. Suhwa is a bit worried about Gyun's tendencies, and the latter, after giving him a bump on his forehead, reassures him of not going around digging up dirt on the good guys. The conversation goes to the past part-timers that had bad behavior and basically bullied Johan one way or the other, some even resorting to messed up physical pranks just to hear his voice again. Suhwa is bewildered to hear what Johan had to put up with from his own employees. But even so, Johan never got angry, so Gyun fired them on his own accord, also ruining the reputation of those part-timers so that they could never set foot in any other cafe ever again. Concluding the conversation with a half compliment towards Suhwa, our guy thinks Gyun is still drunk. That gets him another bump on the forehead in the same spot as before. Back in the cafe main area, Suhwa tries to ask Johan more about Gyun, but Johan, sweating, only says it's a secret. A week later, when Monday comes and the cafe is closed, Suhwa goes to Johan's place as established beforehand, and what awaits him is gardening work, with overtime payment of course. He is to assist Johan with potting plants, many plants, which makes our protagonist inquire if he bought them, but turns out he received them as gifts. Once that is done, Suhwa asks for the passcode to get into Johan's home, while the latter tidies up the backyard before joining him. When entering Johan's place, Suhwa is surprised of the owner's choice of code, 1004, which in Korean sounds the same as the word angel. Once inside, Suhwa's thoughts revert back to the knowledge he gained studying the art of the special massage. He was so diligent about it that he even had lubricant delivery to his house, just to make sure he has the necessary equipment. Problem is, how and when to bring it up? As he anxiously sits at the table, pondering his next move, Johan enters the place and presents him with a sign language study plan properly detailed on a paper sheet. Suhwa is kinda disappointed to realize that he was invited for actual study of sign language instead of the kinky activities he was looking forward to. He is very embarrassed of the thoughts and preparations he did, blushing profusely. Determination kicks in for our protagonist, deciding to give it his all to properly study, and the first point of the list is to try use sign language as much as possible to communicate, so that he gets comfortable using signs. Soon after beginning their study session, Suhwa is overwhelmed by how difficult it is, and during a tiny break he concludes that using the book given to him when he got hired would make things easier. As Johan goes to retrieve the book from our protagonist's bag, Suhwa remembers the lubricant is in there as well. He springs off the chair, rushing to prevent Johan from finding it. He fails and falls, and Johan finds it. The next chapter shows us how Johan and Suhwa are seated facing each other with the newly discovered lubricant in between them, while Johan asks for an explanation of its presence. Suhwa, in a sobbing manner, tells him that since he thought they were gonna be engaging in kinky activities, he brought it as a sensations enhancer. In response, Johan confirms he did initially invite him also for spicy gymnastics purposes. He continues, narrating his side of the story by talking smoothly into Suhwa's ear. Since there was no kinky reaction on Suhwa's part the time he yelled at that rude customer, Johan thought that our protagonist grew accustomed to his voice. When Suhwa denies becoming used to it, and his body's reaction backs it up, Johan is kinda happy with that statement. As a result, he shows interest in using the pink bottle containing the special fluid, to which Suhwa reacts with great excitement, thinking he will get to showcase the new skill he studied for. But when it comes to the factual development, the roles don't go as he intended. Johan is the one that got his hands oily, for so to speak, in handling our protagonist's magic wand, making him pose in a very exposing posture for better access and freedom of movement in the Fappa Fappa endeavor. Due to a little miscommunication, Johan changes Suhwa's position into an all limbs on the floor one, whilst continuing his magic wand polishing. The fancy massage gel seems to tickle Suhwa's sensations, making the process smoother, so Johan tries the radio frequency buttons on our protagonist's chest, just to make sure they tuned on the right radio station program. Johan seems to know his thing when it comes to radio buttons, cause it makes Suhwa get closer to the Milky Way destination. Determined not to be the only one finding Nirvana today, Suhwa starts groping Johan's bits, only to find no life or stiffness in that area. He is disappointed of such flat-lined discovery, so he gets frustrated, wondering why Johan's areas are such deadlands. Johan doesn't understand why is that a problem, since it is not a requirement for him to also be with an upstanding flag in this situation. Suhwa starts sniffling out of mortifying embarrassment, since this would mean that all this time he was deluding himself. No surprise there. While Johan was just doing it out of some sort of pity for our deranged protagonist. Johan denies it vehemently, and even though he can't give details about things, he does state that he has issues. Of course, such vague explanation and wording makes Suhwa believe that the issues mentioned are related to malfunctioning in the manhood department. They get back to business soon after, Johan continuing with the magic wand polishing activities. Weird thing is that Johan is asking a lot of questions related to the activity they are engaging in, but he doesn't actually look at our protagonist for an answer. Suhwa realizes that Johan is in a scared state of mind, so he reassures him of the pleasurable sensations using sign language in a cute, flustered way. That suscitates a strong blush on Johan's face and a surprised expression. As Johan's shy reaction makes Suhwa wonder, he notices that he had movement down below, resulting in a stiff bulge under the belt. Of course, our protagonist is overjoyed by such development, his hands groping everything inside, with a bit too much force perhaps. He decides to make Johan experience the wonders of the special massage he studied so much for. Johan refuses, but Suhua is not willing to let such opportunities slip by. So he swiftly goes in mouth first, gluttonous for a taste of the majestic candy cane before him. Though initially startled, Johan enjoys the saliva treatment, yet soon stops our guy, since now he desires to go all the way. The next scene takes us to the next day, when Suhua is doing the necessary preparations for the cafe working hours. While he deals with this, he remembers about yesterday's activities with Johan. After Johan's desire to get into the nitty-gritty, Suhua put his thigh gap on the line so that Johan could make use of it, if you catch my drift. A lot of friction movements followed those famous last words, and also the spicy massage technique was finally acted upon. But not by Suhua. Instead, it was Johan whom bestowed such sensations upon our protagonist, after asking for directions from the latter, for so to speak. The lubricant came very handy in that, causing Suhua to release the pent-up milky fluid due to such overwhelming new sensations. And that was how the Pandora's box was opened, getting Johan very engulfed in the thigh gap activity, concluding their encounter in a mutually beneficial way. As our protagonist snickers at such good memories, with his hand on his own bum, whilst mentally praising the prostate, he is spotted by Gyun through the window. At the weird scene before him, Gyun thinks our guy suffers from hemorrhoids, offering to get him a sitting cushion. Any other day, Suhua would have had a big back and forth banter with Gyun at such assumptions, but not today. Today he is in a great mood, so he let it slide. At that moment, Johan comes from upstairs and Suhua greets him using sign language. Yet the boss gets flustered and runs away, leaving both employees dumbfounded. For the next 2 days, every time Suhua approaches him, Johan avoids him like the plague, causing a funny run and chase dynamic to the entertainment of Kyun. The last avoidance attempt on Johan's behalf got Suhua drenched with water from the yard hose by accident, and their chasing continued. Even the delivery guy noticed their weird behavior when he came to give them some tangerines as gifts. Of course, since Jihye is here, Gyun is minding his business today, his only focus being his love interest, and not the ruckus caused by our two guys. For a moment, Johan managed to lose Suhua tailing him, and even if worried for getting him drenched in water, he can't help but snicker at the funny expression he has when angry. But our protagonist was relentless in his pursuit, like a hero with SS rank tracking skills, so he finally had Johan cornered, sporting a vengeful demeanor. As he gets closer to him, demanding an answer for the avoidance, he slips from the water droplets and crashes headfirst into a wall. Few moments later, we see Suhua resembling Naruto with a big medical patch on his forehead, applied by Jihye, whom provided first aid treatment. Johan is very worried with a sorrowful expression. Instead, Gyun is laughing his guts out until he gets a text message from a mysterious person that ruins his mood. He offers to give Jihye a ride to the university, asking him to wait in his car for a few moments. He then takes Johan away for a private conversation, updating him about the news he just received. Apparently, a jerk they both know is coming back to Korea next month, but Johan reassures him that if time comes, he will deal with him. No need for Gyun to interfere. After all, he is just deaf, not some helpless idiot. However, Gyun, before leaving, does tell Johan to stop avoiding Suhua and be upfront with him about whatever caused the run and chase dynamic. The cool, calm, and collected appearance Johan had when discussing the mysterious jerk situation is out the window when it comes to the idea of facing Suhua. And so, Johan does face Suhua, holding a sheet of paper in hand. the sign language study plan to be exact. But the first recommendation is crossed off, the one stating our protagonist should try using sign language as much as possible to communicate. To further the explanation, Johan prepared written on his phone the whys and whatnots of the situation. Apparently, every time Suhua uses sign language, Johan can't help but think about what happened that day. The lubricant day to be precise. And it gets him stiff down below. Of course, Suhua gets flustered at reading the explanation, but secretly he is glad because that means Johan is deranged and kinky just like him. So he gives it a test, using sign language on purpose. And Johan reacts like a hawk spotting a mouse. And they get back to doing the nasty, even the special massage, though more gentle, since no lube in the premises. The author this time doesn't give us the visual images of the activity, but time skips to the moment when Johan is putting his work attire back on, whilst the disheveled Suhua can't even stand on his feet no more. Our protagonist got sent home early since his legs gave out. He was lucky he managed to convince Johan not to piggyback him to the hospital. On his way home, he ponders on the effect Johan's voice has on him, until his stomach growls from hunger. So he goes to buy food. The lady, seeing his pitiful state, gives him an extra bean bun on the house. As he enjoys his food while walking, he spots Gyun and an unknown guy having a conversation, and then Gyun angrily drags the guy in a back alley. Thinking Gyun might end up beating the guy, he follows them to keep sneakingly spy on the situation. But what he sees leaves him bewildered. Gyun and that dude are exchanging a kiss. The dude, however, spots our protagonist and stops in the middle of it, since now there is a witness. Gyun recognizes Suhua, yet the unknown guy decides to handle the situation, reaching for his pocket in his coat. Suhua expects a weapon, yet the guy pulled out his wallet, but Gyun stops this thug-like interaction with a light hit on the guy's head. After giving orders of minding his own business to the guy, Gyun drags our protagonist away, leaving a flustered, mysterious guy behind. As Suhwa and Gyun reach the latter's car, a dilemma arises in Gyun's thoughts. Where should our protagonist sit? If seated shotgun, it's not good since Gyun is a taken man. But if he sits in the back, it would look like Gyun is chauffeuring him around. After this useless debate, Suhwa seated shotgun and Gyun inquires, why is our guy not at the cafe working? The explanation given to him is unavoidable circumstances, but Gyun translates it as he got stiff again due to Johan's voice and ran off. Well, he ain't fully wrong, but our protagonist wouldn't confirm it. The conversation shifts to whether Gyun is a gangster or not, and then why the unknown guy did not give him a single dime after pulling out his wallet. Even so, Suhwa gives reassurance that he won't tell anyone what he saw. And regarding Gyun's preferences, he has no prejudices. Yet for safety reasons, he does want to know if Gyun has gangster connections. The pink hair denies any gangster correlations, and he probably is not into men either. We shall make emphasis on probably on this last statement. When it comes to the kiss, Gyun describes it as payment for a favor he previously asked for. That is what the guy wanted as payment, and there is nothing else to it. Being that Gyun is not willing to give any other details on the matter, Suha complains about the secrecy when it comes to Gyun's private life. Gyun decides to give our protagonist a ride home, but that only suscitates worry for the latter, since Gyun knows where he lives without him disclosing it himself. Once dropped off at his apartment complex, Suhwa still ponders whether he should be impressed or terrified of Gyun knowing his address. When he reached his home, he noticed the door to his place is open, and inside there is a big mess made by someone. The next day, at the cafe, we get to see a zombie-like Suhwa sitting in a chair when Gyun arrives. Johan briefs him on what happened. Someone broke into his home last night. Johan is incredulous at first, cause why would a burglar break into the house of someone that looks like he owns nothing worth stealing in the first place? The only relevant thing he owns is a computer, and that to Gyun's eyes makes him look even more pathetic. The weirder thing is that nothing was taken, which makes Gyun become suspicious of something that we aren't revealed yet. Also, even filing a report by the police wouldn't actually do much in catching the intruder, since nothing was stolen and no one was hurt. The officers recommended our protagonist to stay at a friend's place or family member, and they'd patrol the area a bit, but that's about it. Since Suhwa had nowhere to go, he cleaned up the mess and went to sleep. Yet of course, he couldn't actually get a wink of sleep due to anxiety and fear. Seeing Suhwa's predicament, Gyun shows some consideration, coming up with a solution. He could stay at Johan's place for a while. He doesn't actually ask the two involved if that would be okay for them, he just settles it on his own. When the workday is over, Suhwa gets ready to go home, but Gyun reminds him about the scare of the burglar situation, therefore he might as well go upstairs with Johan, then go retrieve his necessary belongings on his day off. Little does Gyun know that in reality Suhwa is looking forward to staying with Johan, but is extremely embarrassed if his legs were to give out again like last time. Gyun leaves with the intention to check his secret suspicion out, while Suhwa waits for Johan to finish cleaning up the kitchen. He is nervous, convincing himself that it's natural for him to only be thinking about doing the deed. Anyone in his place would do the same, is his reasoning. I personally doubt that, but hey, a dude got a right to be the Lulu once in a while. Johan comes and awkwardly they decide to go upstairs. The next scene takes us to a steamy moment where Johan is polishing Suhwa's magic rod successfully till milky fluid bursts out, whilst a pot of food is cooking on the stove. Some minutes before, they both entered Johan's home, only for Suhwa to be appalled by the sight of a newly bought piece of furniture. A bed, to be exact. The more our protagonist tries to act nonchalantly, the more he finds himself unwillingly ogling the said bed. His kinky thoughts fog our guy's brain, and it shows in his awkward behavior, making Johan think that perhaps he does not like the bed, which almost saddens the sweet boss. Suhwa takes a shower and comes out wearing Johan's pajamas, lent to him by the host. The boss is preparing curry for our protagonist, with care and consideration since Suhwa hadn't had a proper meal all day due to anxiety for the burglar situation and spending the night at Johan's plan. Suhwa thanks him for the kind gesture, but unfortunately uses sign language when conveying his gratitude. He does attempt to take it back, yet it was too late. Johan got stirred up, and as payback he responds using his voice, which as we all know by now, has the power to raise the dead when it comes to Suhwa. And that is how the rod polishing activity came to be. He offers to do the same to Johan in exchange, which soon turns into a double sword polishing technique, and Johan suggests to move to the bed for a more comfortable experience. Johan gets really into it, bite marks, smooches in the torso area, intending to satiate his newly developed taste for candy cane. Suhwa's candy cane. Suhwa is bewildered by such fact, but Johan reassures him he's fine with it, having developed a sweet tooth out of the blue. With a little help of a wandering finger in the dark cave, Johan ends up gulping on the youth fountain fluid released. So far, Suhwa is winning 2-0. But Johan ain't no fool. He plays for the long run, making a special request. He wants to explore the dark cave with his sword this time, and makes sure to use his voice to his advantage when making such a request. Even though his thoughts initially refuse to allow it, when he has to express it, what comes out of Suhwa's mouth is explicit consent, after asking about the presence of the proper protection equipment. It is a rocky start, and not quite painless, due to the position that wasn't the best for timely communication purposes, so Suhwa ends up in tears because of the pain and the scare. After calming down, they get back to it, out of Suhwa's intent. Not that Johan wasn't interested in proceeding. Quite the contrary. They do choose a facing situation this time though. White gooey fluid bursts out, and the result is satisfactory for both parties involved. They have a laugh at Suhwa's noisy stomach, and Johan places a kiss on our protagonist's forehead. Then they finally dine. The next day, we are displayed a contorted face expression on Gyun's part, at the sight of a sleeping sickleish Suhwa inside of Johan's apartment, while Johan is peeling an apple by his bedside. Gyun is quite upset with Johan for deceiving him, with the lie that it was him that was sick, not Suhwa. Gyun even bothered to bring him rice porridge out of worry and now wants an explanation. Johan was convinced that he told Gyun that it was Suhwa the one feeling sick, but Gyun's reaction to such words makes him rethink it. A glimpse in the morning events shows us what happened. Johan video called Gyun early in the morning to let him know that the cafe will not open today. When asked why, Johan, remembering the wild night before that even included shower kinky gymnastics after the late dinner, as an excuse, states that he's not feeling well. The truth would have meant disclosing that Suhwa was deep sleeping after being drained by the intense activities of last night. Gyun gets very worried for Johan after the call ended, so decided to go to his place in a rush to provide him with meds, food, and care. Yet what he finds is a perfectly healthy Johan and a Suhwa that pretends to be asleep, both of them with visible kiss and bite marks on the body from the wild night. Suhwa is not happy they got busted by Gyun, but at his inquiries, he clarifies that the both of them are not dating, they only engage in mutually beneficial physical kinky interactions. Gyun's face exudes utter disgust at such words, probably imagining the intense activities they partake in. When Gyun is about to leave Johan's place, he does exchange a few words with Johan himself, recommending him to keep things clear between them two. He speaks out of worry he doesn't want to see Johan get hurt again. After Gyun has left, and the closed today notice is placed on the cafe entrance door, Johan wonders what does he feel towards Suhwa. Does he like him? Does he feel the butterflies for him? He really doesn't feel any of that, even though he does find him cute. But that's about it. Is that enough to say he likes him? We shall find the answer and how the story proceeds in the next part. But for now, this is how this segment ends. If you enjoyed my recap and hopefully entertaining commentary, please consider subscribing, like, share, and comment. You know the drill. And let me know if you want the next part of this BL webtoon. In the meanwhile, wish you all a great day. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.